Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into one of the absolute most fascinating examples of unintended legislative consequences we have ever seen. Seriously, how does a real estate tax aimed at billionaires accidentally solve one of New York City's most annoying street parking problems? Well, we're going to explore exactly how a policy targeting multi-million-dollar penthouses somehow triggered this massive crackdown on everyday, street-level fraud. It is a chain reaction that literally nobody saw coming. Section 1. America's Internet Mayor. To really grasp this policy, we first have to understand the incredibly unique political figure behind it. And that figure is Zohran Mamdani, the current mayor of New York City. He's cultivated this massive online following and has a highly unconventional background. In fact, if you spend any time on Reddit, you'll see people affectionately referring to him as America's mayor, saying it's just a nice feeling to learn something new about him every day. So what's so fascinating about Mamdani? Well, just look at his background. He was actually a music supervisor for the Disney film Queen of Katwe, which, by the way, was directed by his mother, Mira Nair. He fluently speaks 7 languages, including Luganda, Spanish, Bengali, Arabic, Hindi, and Urdu. And this eclectic background has shaped a deeply engaged, totally internet-native approach to governance. I mean, he's famous for being highly responsive to civic requests directly through TikTok. But he doesn't just speak 7 languages, he culturally translates. Observers constantly point out his incredible ability to code switch. As one commenter put it, he probably still speaks the exact same way with his Ugandan and African friends and relatives. It's this unique adaptability that allows him to relate to wildly diverse groups, which absolutely helped him push through some highly debated legislation. Which brings us to Section 2, the Pied-à-Terre tax. This is the centerpiece of his administration's revenue strategy, rolled out in July of 2026. Now, if you're not familiar, Pied-à-Terre is French, and it literally translates to foot on the ground. In real estate terms, it's a secondary residence or apartment that you don't use as your primary home. So this policy is a tax specifically targeting those expensive second homes where the owner doesn't live full-time. And the crucial point here is the money. This tax is estimated to generate at least $500 million, that's $500 million annually, to help close the city's massive budget deficit. Let's break down how these Phase 1 brackets actually look, based on a Duane Morris law firm analysis. You've got rates ranging from 0.8% for a $5 million Class 1 home, scaling all the way up to a whopping 6.5% for Class 2 properties, like luxury condos and co-ops valued over $5 million. So whether it's a multi-million-dollar house or an expensive condo, you're penalized heavily if it is not your primary residence. But what if you actually live there? Well, the exemption process is pretty straightforward. The city sends you a tax notice. You then claim the property as your primary residence and submit something like your driver's license or income tax returns to the city as proof. Once you do that, boom, the massive tax surcharge is completely waived. Simple, right? So you might be wondering, how in the world did a tax on penthouses accidentally expose an epidemic out on the streets? Well, this is where we hit the law of unintended consequences, and things get really, really interesting. Section 3, unintended consequences. Because as it turns out, that simple requirement to prove residency essentially turned the city's tax department into a massive auditing machine. We call it the residency trap. When wealthy residents rushed to prove they lived in New York full-time to avoid that massive real estate tax, they accidentally sprang a trap on themselves. By providing official, legal documentation that New York was their primary residence, they inadvertently admitted something else entirely. They admitted that their cars, which were conveniently registered out of state, were actually garaged right there in the city. Now, if you live in the city, you've definitely seen this yourself. You can look out your window and see people with Virginia or Pennsylvania plates parked on your street for years, driving regularly. It perfectly mirrors this massive open secret among New Yorkers, people registering cars elsewhere to dodge notoriously high insurance premiums and sales taxes. Which leads us to Section 4. The ghost car epidemic. This unexpected paperwork audit finally pulled back the curtain on a phenomenon locals have been complaining about for years. Just look at the numbers. Data analysis revealed that a staggering 21,000 vehicles registered outside the tri-state area pick up a violation in the city every single quarter. 21,000. That consistent pattern strongly suggests these vehicles aren't just visiting. They are in New York full-time. So why are drivers using these fake or out-of-state plates? Mostly, it's to avoid paying their fair share. They do it to dodge high New York auto insurance premiums. avoid paying local sales tax when they buy the car, and to evade camera and toll tickets. Plus, some are even doing it to bypass local income taxes by claiming they live out of state. And the scale of this fraud is just shocking. A city survey looking at non-New York plated parked vehicles in high summons precincts found that 1 in 5 were totally fraudulent ghost plates. 1 in 5. We're talking mismatched or fake plates that police literally cannot trace back to a human being. The financial drain here is absolutely staggering. When you compare fine payment behavior, people with properly registered cars pay about 63% of their owed fines. But the cars with fraudulent plates, they rack up 2.5 times more in fines, but they just ignore them, paying a dismal 16%. For everyday New Yorkers, this is so much more than just abstract tax revenue. It's an infuriating daily quality of life issue playing out right on their block. As one frustrated resident noted, you see these out-of-state plates on beat-up cars parked poorly, and because they're untraceable, the drivers just don't care if they hit your bumper. They face absolutely no consequences. Section 5. Looking ahead to 2028. Because believe it or not, this residency audit is only going to get more intense. Let's look at how this Pied-à-Terre tax rollout plays out over the next few years. Right now, in Phase 1, which started in July 2026, the Department of Finance determines the valuations. But by Phase 2, in July 2028, the city is going to shift how it values Class 2 properties, like condos and co-ops, to match actual comparable market sales. And those market sales are almost always way higher than the city's internal assessments. What this 2028 shift means is that thousands of additional property owners are going to cross that taxable threshold. They're going to be forced into this residency audit to prove they actually live there, moving billions of dollars in real estate value into the spotlight, and shutting the door on vehicle fraud even further. It leaves us with a truly fascinating question. When you pull on the thread of billionaire real estate, you never know what other systemic secrets you might unravel. Think about it. If Phase 1 of this tax accidentally exposed 21,000 ghost cars defrauding the city's streets, what in the world is that massive 2028 audit gonna uncover? Thank you so much for exploring this wild web of policy with me today on The Explainer. We'll see you next time.